Hello all and welcome to Fergi time at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where I'll be rating FPL teams from the community and answering your questions live in the chat every single day from now until the deadline on this coming Friday, August the 13th, which is now around 51 hours away. How scary is that? I will be showing my latest draft at the end of the stream, so do hang around and I'll talk you through my current thinking. At the moment, so I did the Green Arrow last night with Adam Hopcroft, and we came up with a combined 11, and it brought me back down to earth a little bit with a couple of picks. I've now kind of locked in. I think I've locked in 10 players, I think, and I'm just tossing it with the last player, so maybe you guys can help me later sort it out. My name is Fergie, and for any new watchers, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alert so you don't miss any of our daily content right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. Good afternoon, everybody. We have Footy on. He's absolutely mad for it, Footy. He's always here, always in first. Ross Johnson, best of luck in your job interview, Ross. Really hope you get it. We've got Steen, Joshy Boy, Ross Davidson, Jeremy Barretto, George again. He loves it, George. He's always here. James Beacock, Donald Breen says the FPL site is down. Yeah, I believe I've seen it is down for some. It's probably the traffic, I would guess, as people do their last minute kind of, setting their team up all over the world when they realise there's not that long to go. Izo, James Batchelor, Vasanathan, welcome one and welcome all. Absolutely brilliant to have you here with me today. Just before we get into it, if you haven't already signed up to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, what are you doing? There is currently a pre-season 25% discount link at the top of the description below. Members get unlimited access to all our Fantasy Premier League tools, articles, Optastats, comparison tools, points prediction tools, Rate My Team tools, and the Gameweek 1 team reveals from the very best FPL managers in the world. Just as an example, big man Bakar from the FPL Wire revealed his team exclusively for Hub members this morning. Get on there. We got everyone's on there. It's absolutely brilliant. Masses of fantasy football content, basically everything you need to become a better fantasy football manager and dominate your mini leagues. To have a chance to get your team featured and rated in this show every day, make sure you follow at FFHHQ and at FFH_Fergie and post your team in the daily tweet, which goes out at 10 a.m. BST. If anyone's any questions, dilemmas, A's or B's, post them in the chat and I'll try and answer the best I can. So just a bit of news, not as much as yesterday. It's been a reasonably quiet 24 hours, I think, on the transfer and injury front. Simicast, continues to cause waves in the FPL community. Ross Johnson, I think, has managed to smash his team up, into midfield, just as an example, because Simicast is just making way. And I'm in a few chats and things like that, and people are having 3 or 4 million players in their team, right? Because it's very, very likely that a fair few of them will start in game week 1, and what that can do for your team further upfield is just absolutely incredible. Simicast is the man. He's unlocked the keys to all these really, really, exciting FPL teams. Other news, the only other big news, so Adam Armstrong has completed his move to Southampton, and FPL had priced him at 6 million, which is very, very interesting. So for all those who are worried with Ivan Toney, if you start off with Toney, you're not going to be able to get off Toney, to another decent sort of player. Obviously, Pookie is, a decent option, but from game week 3, Southampton's fixtures read Newcastle, West Ham, Man City and Chelsea in there, but Wolves, Leeds, Burnley, Watford, Villa, Norwich. It's not a bad run of fixtures at all. So he really does open up and takes a lot of shots. Apparently, a really good forward. I haven't seen much of him myself, just from what I'm kind of reading and seeing. And the only other rumour that the old Ramsdale to Arsenal 30 million deal looks to be potentially back on the table. I mean, Arsenal, who let go Emi Martinez last season, spending 30 million on Ramsdale, absolutely ridiculous. But such is the world these days. Okay, so let's have a look at a team on Twitter. I've got 8 teams for you today that I took off Twitter this morning for those who replied. First up is Shackmans, and this was interesting because he hasn't gone for any premiums, right? But look at this team, my goodness. Martinez in goals. If I had enough money, I would definitely go for Martinez. I think he is the best option ahead of Sanchez. I do think that Sanchez will be fantastic all season, but Martinez, he was just getting, like, it seemed at one point last season, he was getting 10 pointers every single week. He's such a fantastic keeper, and Villa are only going to improve and improve. Trent, Shaw and Luka Dean. So he hasn't gone for Tsimikas yet. He's quite happy with Luka Dean, but then I don't suppose he needs any 4 million players when he's got a midfield five of Sancho. He's gone for Jota as captain, which is hard to argue against. If you think he's going to start, then I don't. If you're sure he's going to start, then why not captain him, right? I think if you haven't got any of the big guns, he's just as good as any. Havertz, Son, and Grealish. I mean, wow, what a midfield. Be interesting to hear in the chat your thoughts on whether you think Jack Grealish will start. I personally think he might, and it's only because, to me, it would potentially be kind of out of necessity in terms of, the England players haven't really been in training much, haven't, really played many pre-season minutes, aside from Grealish, who obviously, he came on as a sub. But, Foden's not there. I don't think Sterling has trained much. Bernardo looks like he may be off. So I'm kind of expecting a front three, personally, of maybe Mahrez, Ferran Torres, and Grealish. So I think Grealish is one of those. I'm personally, I'm going to wait and see, because I didn't think that Grealish was that fantastic an FPL option at Villa, and I'm just going to have a look. He's at quite a nice point of 8 million where you can hop on him pretty easily. And Ings and Antonio, the choice too up front, and a cheapest bench, even though he has got a 4 million bench. Low ratings here, blimey. Fours and fives, 4.5, 5.5. Matt Woolley. Santino says 5. Couple of sixes as well off Ilmari and Dash, and Bryce Sutcliffe 6.5. Delicious Lemons 6. Brian Sutcliffe, the highest rating one there, I think, by 6.5. Obviously, it's a massive risk, right? And all he's done, is he spread his funds around his team. I'm not sure Sancho will start in game week 1. We're not even sure Jota will start in game week. We're not sure Grealish will start in game week 1. Yeah, I've got to say, I'm personally not a fan of this team. I like the individual players in the team, and for maybe like 1 week, I think it could be fine. Maybe if you swapped out Sancho for someone else, just as an example, but you're opening yourself up, right? No Salah, no Bruno, and no easy way to get to either of them, or Kane either. I think you're going to struggle here, Shatman. So, you may have the odd very, very good game week, but it's unsustainable over a long period of time, unless you're playing a wildcard, maybe game week 2 or 3, but even then, you're going to be lucking out against, Salah, very, very highly captained in game week 1 and game week 2. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to go with the pack on this one, and I'm going to have to give this. I admire your bravery, and it is a good team. We're not saying it's not going to score well in 1 week, but over a period, I don't believe it will. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, going with the crowd on this one. Footy says 7.5 for bravery. And just quickly in the chat, Ollie Barton, is Martial a good differential option? Again, it's one of those. It's like, do you really want to be waiting on the team sheet and, hoping your players played, and then, being chuffed if he does, and, oh, well, if he's not? Because that's how I feel about Martial. That's how I feel, about a lot of these players. Is I prefer to have nailed on players in my team where if they don't start, you're like, what? That's a shock, rather than, oh, he's starting. Oh, great. I just don't like it, because you get into your bench then, and some of the bench may not start. I wouldn't be surprised, personally, if we do see some surprise benchings this weekend, maybe 1 or 2. But yeah, so that's the first team, 6 out of 10. Lot in the chat as well. 99 out of 100 for bravery. We have had. Damien Russo asks, will Buendia be fit for the first game? Well, as always, it's wait for the press conferences, right? So on our stream on Friday at 3:00, we should have all the latest news to really help everyone make those final last-minute decisions on their team. I think the press conferences will probably start tomorrow. On fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, if you haven't seen it already, Ben Dinnery is posting predicted lineups, team news, injury news. It's already on there. Remember, you can see half, and it's members of half. That's the other stuff we got on the hub, right? It's all on the hub. Everything you need for fantasy football, all on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. And Mohammed says, thanks from Algeria. Great to have you with us there. Okay, let's have another team on screen. Let's have a look. And this one came in from Tommaso Muldini. And this one is interesting because this one came out. It's the only 100% rated team on the Fantasy Football Hub Rate My Team tool. So if you haven't seen it, you can go on the fantasyfootballhub.co.uk and get your team rated by our algorithm, by our predicted points algorithm for 3. And at the moment, this one came up for Tommaso as 100. If you do want to rate your own team, the link is in the description below. So he's got Sanchez in goals, Shaw, Trent, and Tsimikas. Apparently, our prediction tool is one of the only ones that is up to date with Tsimikas. Salah, Bruno, Sarr, and Mahrez, and then a front 3 of Ings, Antonio, and Tony. George says a little template, and it probably is, but this is the only team that has come up as 100% on the Rate My Team. So thank you, Tommaso, for sending this in. Really, really appreciate it. If you want to get your own team rated, it's also got like a planner in there. It does like suggested transfers, things like this. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, Rate My Team. Go and do it for absolutely free. It's hard for me to go against our predictions. We've had some 6s, 7s, 8s, 7.5s in there. I mean, it's hard to argue with any of the picks, right? Just a point from Tom. So Tom has only had returns from open play in 13 games against the top 5 teams in the championship last year. Is that a concern? I suppose it is. I'd be interested in how many penalties he had, right? Because, I'm seeing things like, he only scores tap-ins, he only scores penalties. I mean, like, that's what you want from your striker, right? Doesn't matter how he gets them. The numbers are there for yourself. So for me personally, it's not a concern personally, because as long as he gets the goals, it doesn't matter how he gets them. Fantasy football is all about points. And generally, if a striker scores, they're usually on, obviously, for, a minimum of 6 points, but could be 8 or 9. And he only needs another 1 return. He could be on for an absolute haul. Santino says, doesn't like the Sarr pick. Can't really argue, and some saying boring, 8.5, 8s and 9 off J Herbert, 8.5 by Fo Ollie would only change Sarr. But just to see who you change Sarr to. Ben Rama has obviously been, a lot of chat about Ben Rama and his, pre-season performances. I think he scored a couple of goals and had a few assists as well. It's hard to argue. And Harrison is the is the other one at 6 million, who has been creating ways. I can't really think of any 6 million on the dot other ones. Smithrow obviously at 5.5. Be interested in everyone's views. If anyone is tempted to go with Adam Armstrong instead of Tony up front from the start. John says, oh my, that squad is only 2 players different to mine. Absolutely. It is pretty template, but it's pretty decent, and it will very likely score very well in game week 1, and it's well set up as well for game week 2, which is what you want. Last few ratings then: Nick 9, Matt 7, and Jeremy Vlogs says 8. Ilmari, wait and see for Southampton. I think that's probably fair. I was really hot on Nathan Teller, and I still think he's going to be a fantastic footballer, and I'm sure we'll look back, hopefully in a few months' time or a year or two's time, and everyone come back to you said, do you remember Fergie did those Rate My Team streams and he kept banging about Nathan Teller for 5 million? Look at him now, 10.5 million, absolute superstar, playing for Man City or something. I'm convinced he's going to be a superstar. Maybe a bit too early. I did big up Phil Foden start of last season, and I was half a season too early, sadly, on that. Trilliansky says, I want Adam Armstrong instead of Ings. And Felix says, thoughts on Kane? Just going to be a wait and see, right? But this is what we're saying about someone like Kane. So for me, I don't know what all you guys think, but for me, if Harry Kane is fit, he's just an absolute 100% must-have in your team. He'd be probably the best captain every single game almost, right? So this is why I like this team as well, because it's got Salah and Bruno. So if one of them gets injured, wherever else, it's a one move off, right? It's a one move to getting Kane, and that's different from the first team. You would have to probably wildcard or take a -8 or a -12 to get to Kane, and he definitely can't get to Kane and Salah. Batistuta just on Harvey Barnes. I'm surprised Harvey Barnes has lower than 20% ownership. Yeah, when you look at the Twitter template against the actual ownership, it's some very interesting picks in there. Players like Mount, Grealish, Ruben Dias, they're all very, very highly owned, and they're not in in the templates on Twitter, probably because we like to think we're cleverer and we're going to attack the first few game weeks, whereas the casuals, not being rude, but I doubt there's any casual managers watching this stream because you're taking a time out of your afternoon to watch an FPL stream with a boring middle-aged man talk rubbish about FPL, but they're just looking at who they think are the best players. Siang707 says, thoughts on Lucas Moura, and Zuvari says, Dele Alli over Lucas Moura, surely. Lucas Moura has been very, very good in pre-season. He's been very quietly racking up goals and assists. I don't think there's anything wrong. Lucas Moura, obviously, you can't expect much in game week 1, right? But moving on from that, if you want to pick Moura as a bit of a punt, I wouldn't have any issue with that. Spurs have played quite a lot of football, and Son, Ali and Moura all together have all had very, very good pre-season, so I wouldn't have any issue with any of those. Just the last one before we move on to the next team. Almond writing, I don't have Trent in defence. I have Dean Shaw on target. What do you guys think? Just well, I would definitely have Tsimikas if you haven't got Trent. I think the thing with Trent, if you haven't got Trent, it's hard to get up to Trent, right? This is the problem as well. If you don't have the highest owned player or one of the highest owned players in at least 2 of the positions, if you'd want to get on Trent, say Trent scores goal, assist, clean sheet in the first game, and you just think, oh my, I just have to get him in. You can't. You can't without wild card nor taking a -8. So this is why. It's not just having Trent as the player, even though he's a brilliant pick. He's definitely 100% locked in. He and Salah are the only 2 who haven't left my team since the game launched. But it's not just about them as picks. It's about being able to move down quickly to someone else. If he gets injured or whatever else. Let's have a look at another team, and this one comes in from Dave Smith _UK. A little bit of a different looking team. He's going to get a lot of jip from the one player that he's got up front, I think. However, again, let's look at the structure and the price points rather than the specific players, right? Sanchez, Shaw, White, Stone. Now Stone is an interesting one because he's not really someone I've really thought about. I've been quite sweet on Cancelo or maybe Diaz. But Stones has just signed a new contract. He's actually very attacking. I think he scored a few goals last season as well. He's $500,000 less than Diaz. So I don't think Stones is the worst pick. I think it's okay. I'm not too sure on Ashley Young. You'd likely expect Target to play there. So Dave, I wouldn't go for Young even if he starts 1 or 2 games. I don't think personally he's going to keep Target. Out to the team, he's got Bruno and Salah, Gundogan. Another one, I've mentioned it all week. I think he's going under the radar, and if you look going into game week 2 especially, Dave is going to have two City players going into game week 2, a home to Norwich, which not many of us will. Captain on Salah, and then the 3 up front, Tony and Ings. I suppose that we better mention that he's picked Timo Werner up front. However, again, would you honestly be massively surprised if Timo Werner got a goal and assist in game week 1, right? I know their fixtures are awful, and it could be a 1-week punt. I'm not sure, but I think Dave may have said, it's not on the screen, I think he's got 1.5 million in the bank because he thinks Lukaku will come in at 11 million, so he can then move from Werner to Lukaku. So suddenly makes a bit of sense. Your bench, to me, Dave, needs a bit of work. Which Alan Ward has just put in the chat. Martinez on the bench. You don't for me anyway, to spend that much on keepers. What's that? 10 million on keepers. There's just no need. Just pick one and stick with it. I think Dave, you're absolutely barking mad there. To be honest, I would also play Tsimikas as well. Ahead of either Young or White personally, and even ahead of Stones, right? Because Spurs have got a good chance of scoring against City. Stuart Dallas and Bissouma. So Martinez and Dallas for me. I got no issue with Dallas. I wouldn't have 2 playing keepers, especially 2 which are are quite expensive. And I would personally play Tsimikas. I mean, if you're not going to play him away to Norwich, when are you going to play him? Right? That's my personal view. So in terms of rating this team, what we got, Donald says 3.5, Stein says 5.5 out of 10, couple of changes needed. So I'm not against the Werner pick. I'm not against the Werner pick because he's got money in the bank to go to Lukaku. You can't really argue with that, right? You know, they've got a spanking fixture in game week 1. I'm assuming, I haven't checked, but I'm assuming his ownership is going to be very, very low. So yeah, you know, I haven't got an issue with that. Hasn't got Trent. Other than that, I think it's all right. Just a couple of tweaks to take the keeper out as well. You know, there's no need to do that. Jester TM says absolute shambles. Jester, have you just got a bed or something? Have you got the wrong side of the bed? That is harsh. FPL Big Head says 4. Moad 5.5. Alan 4. And Marco Simonov says 6. Yeah, you know, I think there's not masses wrong with it. Just a couple of changes. I'm going to be generous, I think, and give this a 7 out of 10 because it's only a couple of only one move away, right? Martinez or Sanchez out, rearrange your bench. You've got a good team there, and I like the Werner to Lukaku. It's different. Like, you know, as I say, who says he's not going to haul in game week 1, right? But other than that, nice team. Joshy Boy says 7.5, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Harsh Footy says 7.5. We got 3s and 6s. FPL Rubber Ducky votes with his ducks, says 6. Ahmed asks Rafinha or Barnes. My goodness, this is one of my dilemmas when I get to my team. Oh my god, I'm so stuck between a Man City defender, Rafinha, Barnes, and Tony. I'm just like, ugh. I say I've locked in kind of 9 or 10, I think, now, especially after going Green Arrow last night, and really I'm thrashing it all out with Adam, you know, and he made me, I tell you one thing he made me think about, and it was about Heung-min Son, right? So I had Son in one of my drafts yesterday, and don't get me wrong, I think Son is just as good as pick, if not a better pick than a lot of midfielders, right? But his point was, and it's a very good point, is that to get a Son and a 4.5, you're paying 14.5 million, right? Son is not going to score a return every single game, right? So you got 14.5 million there, which is the equivalent then of having someone like Harvey Barnes and Mason Greenwood, and I was like, oof, it's when you think of it kind of that way, you could have both those options instead of Son and Brownhill. You've got Barnes and Greenwood. It really made me think it was a really good point, actually, and I've adjusted my team as such. I do agree, Alan. You know, you say Rafinha can wait. I understand the point, but I also think he's a player. If you know you're going to want him, why would you wait? Why would you book in a transfer? Just get him in. Even if you want to stick him on the bench to start with, he's there. Then you can get ahead of the curve with your transfers instead of booking in transfers, which is what we all tend to kind of do. Get him in. If you think you're going to want him from game week, what is it, 4 or 5? Bear in mind they play Everton and Burnley in game week 2 and game week 3. I get him in personally if you want him in. I'm not saying to get him as a pick because, you know, there's plenty of other options, but if you want him in, I would get him in. Elias Mahrez and Barnes over Son and Sa. Tough one, Elias. I'm flipping heck. It's such a 50-50. I don't know. I think the situation with Kane is very interesting for me, and also the fact that Spurs play 2 Europa Conference playoffs matches in between the first 3 games. So Spurs have 5 games in August. They have 5 games in, I think, 15 days or something along those lines, and they're going to want to get through in Europe, right? So I think that is a consideration as well. I'm not sure that Son will play them both, but he could definitely play, you know, minutes in both, or maybe play one and not the other. I think Son, personally, for me, I've gone off him a little bit. I think he's very explosive. I think he's a brilliant player. I got nothing against him at all, but he's a bit expensive, and they do have the 5 games in August. Stan First, that's Target going to start. I believe so. If there's any Villa fans, you know, who want to back that up, I think Target is a really good option. I've got in some other fantasy formats. Rohan, Jota or Simicast. Well, I mean, what a question, right? If you'd have asked that a couple of days ago, you would have looked barking mad, Rohan. I'm going for Simicast because I think he's just a gift. And I personally, he's a gift. He's very, very likely going to start. For those that didn't see, Firmino played in friendly the other night, scored 2 and came off on 60 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think Jota won't, will or won't start in game week 1, but there's got to be a risk that, that he doesn't, or even if he does, that he doesn't get the full 90, right? So I think this is why I'm going for Greenwood, and this is why I'm going for Simicast, because I definitely, I don't really want to have Jota in there again and be wondering if he's going to start, where I think personally both for Simicast and Greenwood, based on what we know at the moment, and it's really important to, to iterate what we know, right? He may or may not start. He's got a high likelihood than most of not starting. Let's have a look at another team anyway, and this time this is a Nalsden's team, and this is a different looking team, a very different looking team actually. My goodness, I wonder if you're bench boosting Nalsden. I just saw your bench and nearly fell off my chair. Schmeichel in goals, Diaz, Target, Soufal and Dunk. I think individually those 4 picks I really like. Got nothing against those 4 picks. The clear and obvious thing there is no Man United and no Liverpool. You could have opened your team. You've also got no Salah in midfield. Bruno, Dallas, Gundogan and Tielemans. We haven't seen Tielemans, who had a fantastic season last year. He was brilliant, right? Bamford and Vardy up front, but look at his bench. It kind of makes me want to. It's maybe a bit queasy, to be honest. All this money on the bench, unless he's bench boosting and then wildcarding a game week 2, where he's got Sanchez on his bench, Creswell who's 5.5, Soucek. I can't remember how much Soucek is. I'm guessing 5.5, and Ings at 8 million on your bench. A Nalsden. If you look at the picks individually, I think they're pretty good, maybe apart from Tielemans. But what are you doing with that bench, buddy? I mean, absolutely not. If this is your first time playing the game, then I would just listen to this advice and take that money from your bench. You don't need a bench, right? You don't need that much on his bench. Maybe one playing player, but there are plenty of 4 million and 4.5 million options who play. Get that money in your team and don't spread it that much. And Nihal says it may just be the highest scoring team of the week, which is the way FPL seems to go, right? How often do you look at the team of the week and it looks nothing like the template, right? So in terms of the picks are okay. I just think you need to take the money out of the bench and put it up. I also personally, but it's up to you, I wouldn't have rotating keepers. You got to remember that the guys in the chat as well. People may not have played FPL before, so I would say like I say, for individual picks, I think it's all right, but it does need work in terms of your bench. You do not need that bench, so I'm going to go for 5.75 out of 10. Because you just waste. I think someone just said in the chat, 7 million wasted, sat on your bench. 7 million. That's like Tielemans to Salah, even Dallas to Salah, right? You can certainly get it. Jay Herbert says type of guy to put in Kante and Aubameyang. I wouldn't be surprised if it scores well. Ruben says 9 out of 10, solid team, and 10 out of 10, John. For this manager managing to slip a rogue team past Fergie's nose. The only thing I would say, and there sometimes are accompanying tweets, right? He may have said, look, going for this for game week 1, going for a bit of a risk, going to wildcard in game week 2 and bench boost in game week 1. He's going to do that. Fair play and good luck, but it's certainly not for me and Alsden. Sorry if I sound harsh, by the way. If you are new to FPL, welcome, and we really, really hope that you enjoy playing FPL with us. Let's have a look at another team, and this is from at Rosaldinho, who cropped his image nicely and put his name in there as well, by the way. Sanchez, Digne, Alonso. Now, Alonso, we touched on Alonso yesterday because it's very, very likely that he's going to be a very nice game week 1 only likely punt, but my goodness, what a punt it would be if it comes off. And if we knew Alonso was nailed and Chelsea had good fixtures, Alonso would likely be as popular, if not more popular, than Trent, right? Because he's so destructive, whereby He's very likely starting game week 1. If he doesn't start in game week 1, it's not the end of the universe. But I think we all think he will. He's got a chance for mega hold against Palace, right? What better than starting off with a 12-pointer or a 15-pointer and then just moving him on swiftly for someone else in game week 2. Just for those asking how to get your team rated, to have a chance to get your team featured and rated, make sure you follow at FFH_HQ and at FFH_Fergi. Post your team in a daily tweet, which goes out at 10 a.m. BST. So I'm streaming 3 o'clock every day until Friday. We're just looking through a few teams, just having a chat and answering some questions. Wazim Alonso, 15 points versus Palace. This is it. See, Rubber Ducky is rating it as a 7. Craig says has to be a 10. Craig, who's picked. If anyone hasn't seen Craig's team reveal on Fantasy Football Hub, on this channel, take a look at Craig's team reveal. It's one of the best videos you'll ever watch. Watch out for what he did last season to win our 5k cash mini league. It was unbelievable. He also has Russell Dino has Creswell and Shaw, 2 lovely picks. Barnes, Fernandez and Greenwood. He doesn't have Salah, so it is risky not going with Salah. It is risky, but it could pay off, right? And the reason he has got Salah is because he's already got Kane in his team. Now, he would be the uber differential, amongst, the Twitter sort of players and, the YouTube guys anyway, right? That he's gone for Kane because apparently Kane, it was confirmed yesterday by the manager, is available for selection against Man City and Antonio and Ings. So what a strike force that is. He's also got Rafinha on the bench as well. Some nice flexibility there. So basically, he's going against Liverpool. Russell Dino, I wonder if you are an Everton fan because you haven't got any Liverpool in your team, which, may sound a bit mad, but then, if it was obvious, if we all had the same team, if, then we'd all win FPL, right? This could be the team, Russell Dino, that, takes you to the top. And he's also just put a little comment underneath Kane, said Kane can go to Lukaku as well. So, his 2 premiums are going to be Bruno and Lukaku. Jerome Robertson has just confirmed that Kane's at over 20% ownership. I mean, how sick is it going to be if Kane plays against City and bangs a couple of goals in? Because all these managers haven't seen hardly any drafts, maybe 2 in the last 2 weeks, right? Which has had Kane in, whereas 20% owned. I mean, if he starts and he bangs, we're all looking at red arrows, right? Bench of Amati, Rafinha and Bissouma. Let's have a look at some ratings. FPL says 6, Moad 7, QVC Kingston 7.5, Matt Ward says 8, James Gibson gives it a 6. Yes, JT confirms no Liverpool players indeed. I'm going to give this, I think it's quite brave, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 personally. I'm not going to risk going without Salah because for me the variance in my rank will be too great, right? You're going against the herd. So Salah is owned by half the game. He will likely be captained by 3/5 or 4/5 of that half. There are still another 2 million managers who are going to join the game in the next couple of days, you would guess. So Salah's ownership, will probably rocket, I would guess. You're just going against it. I don't fancy, so I did it last year, and I will never do it again. I didn't pick a captain Salah last year. Obviously, he scored his hat-trick, and I was down, I think after game week 4, I was still at 4.5 million, and my whole season was just spent trying to get small gains up to 4 million, up to 3.5 million. I am never doing that ever again. It was very disappointing season. FPL Rubber Ducky, 10p fine for me. I went away from the mic. Apologies all. I do try. I did fine Adam. I think Adam owes me about 17 quid after last night. So apologies for that. Let's have a look at another team, which is at Nick Sharp 46. Now I like this team because he's got the 3 premiums. So he doesn't have Trent, but he's got Sanchez, he's got Ben White, Luke Shaw, and Simicast at the back. But look at that midfield. I mean, whoosh, and Strike Force. What a team. Hard to argue. He's got Mane, Salah captain, and Bruno. Benrahma, who is all the rage at the moment, and Sarr as well. According to the Fantasy Football Hub points prediction tool, Sarr comes out highest out of all midfielders in his price range, and he's managed to have Antonio and Ings. Now he has got Veltman and Aiden as well, so he's got a bit of flexibility at the back and the 4.5 keeper. But here he's basically going for Mane against Trent, right? Is basically what he's doing, and it's hard to argue here that that's the wrong thing to do. He's gone for a cheap defense, but it's very hard to argue. Harry says Salah and Mane, absolutely. I think it's a lovely looking team. It's very hard to argue actually with that team. He doesn't have Trent, but he's got Mane. I know I'd rather. FPL Rubber Ducky rating it at 9, Mikan 8, Tristan 9, Ilmari 9 out of 10, C Visor 7, H Mixie 7.5, Steen very solid team 9.5. Even got a good bench. Absolutely, it's really really hard to argue, and he can move any of those players out at any time pretty easily for a Kane or Lukaku. No Chelsea players, no Man City players, but do you need them from the start with their fixtures? Martin Boyle says oof and takes a bow. George says weak defence. TTH says no Trent, shocking. Well, he's got Mane. You haven't. So it's like, if it was a toss up, I'd go for Mane over Trent personally. So I really like it. I really like this team, and I am going to rate it. I'm going to rate it 9 out of 10 because it's the best team I've seen. Without the only big miss is Trent, but other than that, he's got the players to make up the points and then some. So I very much like the team. And Matthew Price says 9. Team rater God. Very apt that you're on this stream. 7.8783434. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Ruben, a 9 out of 10. Very good draft using no Trent. And Sadiq says Dini and Tony. Easy fix. Nagashi doesn't like it at all, which is why we do this, right? Because everyone has different thoughts on their teams. Let's have a look at another team. And I think this might be the final team. And this one came in from Josh R. Martland. Now, we've only seen a few 4-5-1s, but every one I look at gets me excited. Look at this team. And he's also got 1.5 million in the back, right? In the bank. So we've got Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, and Soufal. More than happy with that. I'm not a massive keen of Ben White. I don't get the love with Ben White. Fantastic footballer, but he's an Arsenal centre back, so I don't get it. Even if he was a wing back, or a full back, I'd be a bit more excited about it. Benrahma, Salah captain, Jota, Bruno, Havertz. He's also got 1.5 million in the bank to upgrade Havertz to Son for game week 2. Oof. And Antonio up front. He's also got a bit of money on the bench in Veltman as well, and Parika, I believe, as well. So nice team. And even a Chelsea player for game week 1. It's just, I wish I had a bit more. I wish I was a bit more ballsy, because I do think 4-5-1 could definitely be at times the way to go. Anyone who knows me knows I live a bit of big at the back. You've got no flexibility in your striker. Is the only thing. You're going to have to upgrade Parika up to if you want Parika up to wings. Mind you could always do Bruno down to a 4.5, because you'll still have 4 playing midfielders, and then do Parika up to Kane or Lukaku. I mean, again, it's hard to argue, right? It answers all the questions. It answers every question. It's there, right? Jerome Robertson, I think that Ings is near essential, but still very nice. TTH triple on West Ham. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan on triple for West Ham. Was talking to Adam last night on Green Arrow, and he said, well, you just have to look at each player independently of each other. It's hard to argue, right? So he used the example that if West Ham win 2-0, Antonio and Benrahma could get a goal and assist each. It's hard to argue. I do fancy Benrahma. I do. I personally, I'm not a fan of double ups right at the start of the season anyway. But no, I really like this team. Let's get some ratings. Moad says 9, Steve Grace 7.5, Matt Ward 6.5, Matt Woolley says 7. I like this team. I think it ticks an awful lot of boxes. And with that in mind, I think I am going to go for a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's hard to argue. This team could score a lot of points in game weeks 1, 2, and 3. He's got the rotating defenders as well. He's got the cash. He's got the cash, swimming in cash in midfield to be able, to move up or down up front. So I like it. Heinzie McCall says, look at FPL Rob's team on Twitter, one of the best teams I've ever seen. Hard to argue with that. IB Ben says 9. Matthew Moose 5.5. Footy says 8.5. Pierre doesn't fancy it. 6. Daniel 8. Mikan 7. John says excellent videos these days. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate that. Elijah 7.5. Darshan 8. I've given it a 9. FPL right back giving it a 4 out of 10. That's harsh. I think this is a very good team. You've got all the bases covered. Anyway, let's have a look now then at my team. Any second, get it up now. Just to say, to have a chance to get your team featured and rated, make sure you follow at FFH_HQ and at FFH_Fergi. Post your team in the daily tweet, which goes out at 10 a.m. BST every morning. Just for those asking in terms of when I pick the teams, it's kind of when I'm busy during the. It's kind of when I'm free during the day, right? Sometimes I'll pick a few early and a few later. Sometimes if I'm busy in the morning, I'll choose them later. If I'm busy later, I'll choose them early. There's no rhyme or reason. I just click through the teams, and if there's a couple, if there's one or two which I look at and think, ooh, I like that, it's different, or I don't like that. Let's just have a chat and try and help out. Then I'll pick that as well. If the teams are cropped and has the name on it already, they've got a bigger chance of getting in because it saves me a couple of minutes work. Anyway, team rater, Fergie starter pack. It's hard to argue with that. That's a 9 out of 10. If we all had the same team, we'd all win FPL. We would. Let's have a look at my team and my latest dilemmas at the moment. So it's not a complete team, as you can see. I've got the 14 players, but my final dilemma. So I'll tell you my locks, right? And these are my locks at the moment. So Sanchez and Steele at the back. I've been convinced by many sources that Sanchez. Bakar's team reveal as well this morning. If you haven't seen it on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, Big Man Bakar's team reveal on the hub today. He also backed Sanchez very, very heavily. Trent, Tsimikas, Soufal and Shaw are absolutely locked in my team. They are locked. My dilemma is to whether have a big defender or not. But those four for me, as it stands with what we know, unless there's another injury, unless there's another sign-in, those four are locked. The other ones kind of locked in my team. Salah, Bruno and Greenwood. I've got Rafinha in as well. As kind of I mentioned earlier about Rafinha, right, is that, when I did the team reveal with FPL, Salah, who is one of the best ever managers, right? If not the best, he's definitely one of the best. He said Rafinha for him, absolute no-brainer. Just leave him in your team. Just leave him in. He'll score points all season long. So to the gentleman earlier who was saying about bring him in later, I don't have to. I can bench him in game week 1. Going to play him game week 2 at home to Everton, game week 3 against Burnley. Even home to Liverpool. The way that Liverpool have defended recently, he might be the worst there. Up front, Ings and Antonio. And my dilemma. So my dilemma on my team is at the moment, I can either have Ruben Dias in a back 5. I can also squeeze in Harvey Barnes for a 3-5-2. Or I can go for Ivan Toney up front. And that is my dilemma at the moment, which I am stuck on. Dias could be Cancelo, could be Stones as well. But that's my dilemma. Man City defender, Harvey Barnes, Ivan Toney. I'm swaying towards Toney just because of his absolutely fantastic scoring record, and the fact he's on penalties for me is always big. If you look at Pookie a few seasons ago, look at Bamford, last year, Toney's scoring record. If you look for me, I personally think that the people have gone off Toney because they're just like shinier toys, right? But when the game was launched, everyone was like, Toney 6.5, lock. Where's that gone? Like, where's it gone? Like, what has changed? I love his confidence as well. I don't know if his confidence is swaying me. I don't know if I'm being talked into picking him by by the man himself, because someone interviewed him yesterday and he said, "Oh, I'm only owned by 2 million players. Tell him to captain me," or whatever else. I don't know if it's just arrogance or or he's just so confident, But I love confidence in a striker. He's going to be absolutely buzzing to go. He's going to be raring, right? And he's also a fantastic player. So I'm erring towards Tony. I like Barnes as well. I do like Harvey Barnes. The only issue I've really got with Barnes is he doesn't always play 90. And Tony is on pens, which I do always like. And then the Man City defender option I do like, because he's just in there set and forget all season. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment in terms of my team. I think we had a couple of ratings earlier. There was a couple of shouts of template, which it probably is, in all fairness. A lot more template than it was, but I'm happy with it. I look all round. I've got the high owned players. I've got a couple of punts as well. I've got players who I'm pretty sure are all going to start in game week 1. I can switch around really easily to get in, a premium striker. I can get to Lukaku easily. I can get to Kane easily. I can go to back 5 easily. I just think, I'm definitely. I don't want a wild card early. So I think with this team, what I could even do, is kind of see it into game week 7 as an absolute minimum, and then you get the fixture swings then, for a few teams, and you can shift things about. But that's my draft as it currently stands. But I do keep drifting from Barnes to Tony to Diaz to Stones to Barnes to Tony, and thinking, yeah, that's right. I'm not sure. I'll be doing this stream at 3:00 on Friday. I hope I have decided by then. But that's where I am at the moment. Okay, everybody. To have a chance to get your team rated tomorrow, follow at FFH_HQ on Twitter and follow at FFH_Fergi. There will be a tweet going out at 10 a.m. tomorrow off the at FFH_HQ account. Post your team in there, and I will pick 8 teams. I'll pick 8 teams, eight random teams. I'm not going to rate the same team more than once, because I think that's unfair. But I'll be back 3:00 tomorrow looking at some more, with I think then there'll be 27 hours until the deadline. My goodness. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the stream, I would very, very much appreciate it if you could press the like button. It would be absolutely great if you could. I'm only on 88 likes, and so far I think over 5,000 people have dropped in and out. So you can't have all disliked it that much. So if you could press like, really, really appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. BST. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday, and that's the lot. So like I say, we're only about 50. Fours. My math is rubbish. 51 hours away maybe from the deadline. And I will be running through drafts and answering questions. If you enjoyed, please press like and drop me a follow on Twitter at FFHFergie. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, please do. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are on FFH_HQ. If you're on social media, we are on everything. We've got a brilliant social media team. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including FPL player comparison tools, fixture ticker, rate my team tool. If you want to get your team rated for free, go on to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk and we will rate your team for you using our tool and our algorithms. The fixture ticker, Optastats, top player team reveals. Big Man Bakar revealed his FPL team this morning exclusively for Hub members. Points prediction tools, much, much more. It's doing the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers. And sign up to the Hubs. Use our amazing resources. Click the top link in the description below. 25% off only on until Friday. If you get it on Friday, you've wasted all the 2 days beforehand. You could have been using all the tools and enjoying all the articles. We're getting about 9 or 10 articles out every single day. Just get on it. It'll be, honestly, you will absolutely love it. I'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. BST, rating more teams and answering your questions. I will see you all there. Goodbye for now.